at 6 in the morning or 9 or 8 or I bring it inland immediately within an hour, and I lay it all out on these 38-foot tables that I have. And so the reason that this tastes so good is because of the way I've dried it. And the drying is real. I don't know how many of you dry plants or dry herbs, but the drying is the most important part of being an herbalist. And I've realized the same thing about seaweed harvesting is that because people will say to me, they'll take a class and they'll say, I went home and I dried that sea palm and oh my gosh, it doesn't taste the same. Yeah. So it has to get to a certain point in the drying for it to taste like this. And that's what seals, and so the sun, and not rinsing it, seals in all those minerals, and that's when it's really, really good. So you want it to look dark. Like this is a brown seaweed, you want it to black green. That's when I know it's ready, and that crunch when you can snap it, that is when you want to eat it. So I'm going to let you try different seaweed.
You're saying you harvest it twice a year?
No, I have about 30 days.
No, I mean, but you harvest, like, do you pull it out of the ocean, how many, 2 times a year in the spring?
Oh, you mean season?
Yeah.
Yes, spring and summer. Late spring and summer.
Okay.
Is the only time you can get it.
But then you do it multiple days during that time? Sorry,
Yeah.
I think I missed that part.
Yeah. So, these tides that are minus exist when the moon is full and the moon is new. So in those 2 cycles, they're 4 to 5 days before, during, and after when I can actually get out there. So it's about twice a month. It follows the moon. Follows the moon and the sun. So this has to be, so the sunrise and the moon have to be, so it has to be light enough for me to start in the morning because they're all early morning between 5:15 and 10:45.
And like, how much do you get in? Like, what's a good day? Like, how many do you measure it in? Like pounds or?
Yeah. Well, I can only take what I can dry. So because it loses, it's 2/3 water weight. So if I get 100 pounds, I get 33 pounds of dried seaweed.
Okay.
So it's very laborious. So I have to, and with my 20 tables, my goal is to have 30. I have 28-foot tables. I can only bring in about anywhere between 120 and 140 pounds that I can dry comfortably. But once I have more of a drying site.
Is it easier in the summer because the sun is hotter than it would be in spring?
Yeah. The other thing,
it'll dry a little faster.
That's
right?
a really good observation. Yeah, exactly. It's much easier in July and August. It used to be before global warming that there were hot days in May, even in April in Mendocino County. But last year, I lost about 25 days of drying because there were, it was like 68 one day in May, 65, 68, and with gray, and it was really insane. So it has definitely changed what I'm doing in some, there are other companies that have indoor drying facilities. They have, heat pumped in as nowhere. Part of me, I don't want to do that. I like doing it this way. It's very laborious, but I love the way it comes out. I just think
very
it's
natural.
It's a natural way.
It is. It's so delicious. I still, I just want to keep doing it this way. It's extremely energy intensive gig, I have to say. Very intensive. If I look like I have energy now, I usually get up at 4 in the morning. I make some tea. I race out, to get to the ocean because I only have a 3-hour window before the ocean covers it again. So, harvest, put in bags. It's usually, we're on steep hills. So you're carrying these heavy bags up steep hills, and I have youngins that help me now. And then load it back in the truck, grab something to eat because I'm like starving. Race back inland, which is an hour drive from the coast, to lay it out in the sun till 7 o'clock at night, and then do the next thing for the next 3 or 4 days. So if you saw me during that cycle, you wouldn't think I had energy. You'd be like, But you have to do that because that's where, that's the...
You have to drive an hour to go inland?
Yeah.
Where are you?
Because the Mendocino coast, the ecosystem is that on the coast you have fog to a certain point.
You don't get sun.
You don't have the heat and the sun. And so you have to, we call it driving inland. And so you have to drive at least, 25 miles to get to a place where you can actually dry it.
the seaweed.
Dry the seaweed, yeah.
Mhm.
So, yeah, so this seaweed is, I want to talk about thyroid, talking about iodine. This is the most fishy, a little bit salty, it's very crunchy, it's the most fishy. I have to give that as a disclaimer because people are like, but I find that if you have some kind of thyroid, whatever condition, or you will eat the entire bag.
It seems to me as though the entire nation has a thyroid condition.
Doesn't it seem like that?
Yeah.
Everybody in
We have an epidemic.
unbelievable. I have a friend who's a really, I say famous. He's a famous herbalist. He's written dozens of books. His name is Matthew Wood, and he just wrote me. He's writing a whole book about thyroid, and he sent me. He said, "I want to hear what you know about your seaweed stories and thyroid, and iodine." That's one seaweed I don't eat. I know I don't have a thyroid problem because I never go for it, except when I'm packaging. Otherwise, I do not put it in my food. But it's very important to harvest because that, it's called bladderwrack, or fucus is the common name. That seaweed is the second ingredient in every herbal thyroid product on the market.
It's not as salty as the others.
No, it's not.
What about people who were hyperthyroid?
Smells
Then they
fishy.
should stay away from iodine, right?
It's for both. The seaweed does both. If you're hypo, it balances you. If you're hyper, it balances you.
Really?
Yes, it's amazing.
But it's food.
Well, these doctors
Because-
are telling you not to take it when you have hyperthyroid.
Telling you not to eat seaweed?
Hmm?
Are they telling you not to eat seaweed? If you...
No, not to eat anything with iodine in it, like iodine salt.
Well, iodine salt is not seaweed.
Yeah.
No, I know, I'm
It's
talking about
artificial.
iodine
It's
content.
artificial.
Right. Maybe, I don't know. It is artificial. It's processed. This is a plant that knows what each human being needs if they have
Smart plant.
thyroid,
I don't have a thyroid problem.
You don't like it.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
It doesn't taste like anything to me.
it's...
I hardly even taste the fishy taste.
you
Yeah,
know,
I don't
it's-
taste it.
I don't taste
I
it.
don't
I
either.
smell it.
The fish.
It smells
salty.
fishy when I kind of smell
It's
it.
salty. I mean, it's really just very, very different than the others. But I've seen people stand at the table when I'm selling it, and literally they can eat this entire bag. And then I'll ask them about their, oh yeah, I've got a thyroid problem. Or they'll eat the whole bag, and I'll say, I think you should get your thyroid checked.
Why don't you sell this at the Marin Farmers Market? Can
I've
you?
been trying to get into the farmers markets for about 2 years. Unfortunately, our greater culture didn't know where to put seaweed in their
Repertoire.
regulations.
You don't fall into a category.
So you know where they
Oh,
put me?
regulations.
They put me under food purveyor, and food purveyor is the person that can cook steak or popcorn at the farmers
What?
market. Yeah.
It's
So
a
I'm
vegetable.
yeah, but it should have been under an agricultural product. So I tried 2 years ago because I've been really wanting to do the markets for about almost 7 years, and they declined me. But I have an appointment with the inspector next week, so I feel very hopeful.
Yeah.
Well, let us customers talk to our farmers market managers as well. I'll go
Great.
talk to the.
I would love to be in the San Rafael
Yeah.
market. That would be
Yeah,
absolutely
there are
fabulous.
3 or 4 markets that you absolutely should be in.
Yeah. Once I get the state permit, then I'm good to go. They just didn't, if this were Japan or Korea or China, of course I'd but it's not. So they just didn't know, but I will eventually. Because part of eating seaweed is knowing about it. Hopefully you'll have a different idea about it after you leave. The other thing is people will often come and they'll say, I buy those sheets at Costco, those nori sheets. Are those good? And I'm like, well, first of all, it comes in those massively packaged, those like completely, and a lot of them have salt and sugar added to them. That's
Really?
the thing.
And they use corn
And
oil
they use a lot of
soy
corn oil,
oil.
yeah. So it's a lot of like really processed. But if that's the only thing you're gonna get, yeah, go for it. It's just better to buy it from somebody local. I mean, this is super local. The only more
You
local.
sell it local?
I don't sell it at retail. I only sell what I'm teaching, farmers markets when that exists, and through the website. Because-
you don't want to.
Well, a lot of the other companies are in stores already, and I just think that when it sits on the shelf, like every time I go to Whole Foods, I go to the seaweed section to see how I know Larry, he buys, the Whole Foods buys from Rising Tide Seaweed, and I go in and it doesn't look good because people don't buy it. They don't know what it is. It sits in the back, like some stuff between like the cashews and, somewhere between the detergent and people, you don't even notice it. So it loses its energy when it's just in plastic, just like this so I'm not opposed to retail, but I would have to do educational events for the store so people
But
would
now it doesn't lose energy if it's in a glass jar with the
no,
top.
it's sealed.
That's the way to do
Yeah,
it.
that's the way to do it.
I think it would
Yeah.
scare some people away. You look at it, it's $75 a pound or something like that, and you look, holy crap,
Right,
this is more than filet mignon, you know what I mean?
right. And part of the reason it's so expensive is it's so difficult to do.
Yeah.
It's really, really a difficult thing to harvest it.
And just think how much a pound would be. I mean,
It's
not
enormous,
price,
yeah.
but how much
Enormous,
quantity.
yeah, huge
But
volume.
you're right about the price, because I have a very dear friend he owns a tea shop in Sebastopol, and we were selling at a market together, and he tried with the kombu, and he was like, oh my god, I have to have some. Come by my shop and we'll talk business. And so I came over with the kombu, and he said, how much? And I said, $60 a pound. And he looked at me and he said, he raced to the back. He gave me this 1 pound bag from China. He said, I get this for $30 a pound. And I said, I know, but it's China and it sucks.
Yeah.
It's crap. He goes, I know, but it's cheap. And I said, well, you want something good, you gotta pay for it, honey. That was it. We're still really good friends, but I mean, that's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
for
This is
years, I
delicious.
was selling this for $5 a pound up until last year, because I was like, people have to have them. It's just that I can't make enough money to keep going, so I had to raise it a little bit. But yeah, just think how much you'll spend on supplements.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Personally, with the store in San Rafael Gathering Time,
Yeah. I used to
have
I
you
know.
ever sold through them?
No, I should call her again. We were in an herb workshop together years ago. Actually, Matt Wood, the same herbalist.
I mean, because that seems like a really natural
Place to
Yeah.
audience-wise.
Right. I should do
And
a.
also doing a class there.
You're right. I should contact her again. What's her name again?
Cheryl.
Cheryl, right. I should contact her and do something there.
You know what you could do? You
What?
could do a talk
Is
at
it
Drivers
San
Market.
Drivers Market, yes.
Yes. They have community talks and people just like you come in and they do exactly what you're doing. And then drivers, I don't know if you know, but it's like a really small, kind of I'll just call it like a gourmet, natural, local, and it would be a great place to sell it. And they love to have community talks about different products.
That's perfect. That's
all
exactly
the
what
time.
I'm looking for.
I can
Would you? That'd be
Yeah,
fabulous.
and you would have the right kind of audience there because that's who shops there.
Mhm.
And I don't even know, I know you live in Sausalito too, if they sell seaweed there, I've never looked for it,
Mhm.
but this is like exactly what they love.
Thank you. I would love to, all those things. Yeah.
Well, and also the Point Reyes Farmers Market, which is only seasonal, so it's wrapping up, I think, the end of October.
Uh-huh.
Every Sunday, which is when they have the farmers market, they
Uh-huh.
have a guest speaker.
Oh, that would be great.
And they have like
Mhm.
30 people usually listening.
Uh huh.
And a lot of times there's a little cooking demonstration. A couple of weeks ago, the woman was making nasturtium pesto. I mean, we're talking about,
Yeah.
not mainstream.
Oh, that's a wonderful tip. Yeah, I would love to do something like that.
that's another-
Yeah, this is part of the reason I love doing things like this, because there are things that I don't know about that's exactly where I'm going. Like Three Stone Hearth, I contacted
yeah.
them, and they're totally about me coming in to do a workshop. They're wonderful. So I've done education, I've done classes for years. But I'm realizing it's way more important all the time, because people, unless they have a background about seaweed,
Yes, unless they have
reference, it's something so
Context,
foreign. Unless you're Asian, like if somebody Japanese were to walk in, they might be
You
all
don't have
over
to tell
it.
them,
I don't have to tell them. They're just like, oh my god, kids, but. Or Irish. I mean, there's an Irish pub owner I'm friends with who loves it. But there's also something I've noticed. I don't know if it's been a propaganda from the government, but things from the ocean, people have this real fear
People
of.
tend to reject them. They're
They
afraid
really
of them,
do.
not recognizing that the land stuff is far more poison.
Exactly.
You know what I think it is?
What?
I lived most of my life in Southern California, and this kelp just washes up in the beach all the time. And it stinks, and it's full of flies, and my vision of seaweed at that time was this stinky mess that the dogs go pee on all the time.
You're totally right. I never even thought about that. You're totally right. That's exactly what people associate it. Because what I'm doing is something completely different that people don't know. They say, oh, seaweed, you gotta get, like, I'll take people to the ocean and they'll pick up the peas. Don't eat that. Do not. You
Right,
cut it with a knife from the rock, from where it is
Live, living.
where it's
Living.
live. Yeah.
not
Yeah.
drop it.
I think you have to dispel that
Yeah.
vision, because
Right.
the mindset is what
Right.
turns them off.
Right. Because when people eat it, my experience is when people eat it, they like you look at the bowl's almost gone. I mean, you realize it's like, I want this, I need this, you
Yeah, I
know?
felt like I ate a supplement.
Yeah.
I feel also,
Yeah.
it feels very good.
But I think that's
Yeah.
a good point, like you could even make that part of your talk, like seaweed is not, the stinky
Right.
fly infested,
Right.
peed on,
Right.
green stuff on the beach.
Right.
And to
It's
mention
also not-
harvested live. It's
Yeah.
harvested live. It's not harvested from the beach.
Right. Right,
Yeah.
which is one thing when I take people out to the ocean, that's really
Yeah.
fresh, and it's really reiterated over and over again. You see it on the beach and you take it from the rock, like what you saw me in the picture, like
Mhm.
cutting it, that is right, and then dried from that point, it's a completely different thing than
Yes.
who knows where it's been. It could have come from, like exactly San Diego and been traveling, and so,
You could do a little documentary and zoom in on this pile of crap with all the flies, but this is not what we're talking about.
That's a really interesting idea. This friend of mine who loves doing websites said, I'm going to make you a whole new website with a documentary. That's an interesting way to start. That would be really interesting. I mean, I don't think I'd have to dispel your all because
No.
you're here for nutrition, but for the greater, I had an experience I had to tell you about this. It was years ago, I was invited to the Heirloom Expo, the big
yes.
thing in Santa Rosa. And I had this big, huge display with seaweeds and photographs and the whole thing. And one person after another that came by that had never eaten seaweed, instead of, I was learning about how to approach people with seaweed, I would say, would you like some seaweed? And 9 times out of 10, people would shrink back like this. That's fine, thanks, that's okay. And then I said to myself, okay, Jewel, psychology, you have to figure this out a little differently. I would say, do you like salty and crunchy?
Oh.
Yeah.
And they'd say, oh, I love salty and crunchy.
Oh.
And then it was
I'm not
amazing.
fearful anymore.
It was a really interesting moment in psychology, and to see how people view something that they don't have any experience with. Probably I might react the same way if somebody handed me, because I first ate it in scrambled eggs and it was absolutely delicious. So that's the other thing that I do is I do cooking classes. So we cook with it and then we all eat together as a meal. And then if people, that's why I do it this way, so we start eating it. If you eat it, then you'll start using it. Yeah.
It has a negative connotation, the word weed. If somebody was selling
Right.
But
ragweed,
again,
Sea
it
vegetables.
doesn't sound good either.
Right. No, you're totally right.
Sea
It's
vegetables.
sea vegetables, right. And a lot of companies just call them
Cornucopia or
sea
something.
vegetables. Although now they've classified it not as a vegetable because it doesn't live in soil, but I still think of it
Oh,
as,
that's silly.
it's algae. I mean, it's, the other, yeah, it is. It's,
some people
Yeah.
like weed though.
Yeah.
Depends on the
I like weed.
Yeah, it depends on,
So.
could be a dandelion or something